Right lads, what's the crack? Guinness Guru Show, episode 8. That's not Welch's. That's not Welch's. You're not wrong. I am away at the minute lads, I'm in this lovely hotel lobby in Germany. And like I said on my Instagram, there was maybe a mix up, whatever you want to call it, in terms of the guest for this week. Hopefully we'll have that guest next week. But I just said, you know what, I'll do a Q&A. I haven't done one in a while, and you lads always have questions that you're asking, which is great, so let's get straight into it. But yeah, firstly, just in terms, like I've said it before, in Q&As and stuff with guests, I see other people doing podcasts and they've just got a guest every single week, and I don't know, maybe they film a load of stuff in a row. I'm still learning my trade with this podcast crack. I always said that was my biggest struggle with podcasts in the past. Just like, you do kind of have to bend over backwards to try to get a guest every week. It is tough, not trying to make excuses while making excuses, but yeah, there was a slight mix up, and then also there was another guest who I filmed. There was issues with the audio of the video, so we're filming that again. I could have put it out, but I want to film it again because it's a really good guest. So yeah, just shit like that happened, and again, like I'm at a stage now where I do really think I need to step it up and invest more into getting, you know, a proper cameraman and stuff like that. But it all costs money, and I'm doing this thing full time. You're trying to pay bills, so you're trying to take risks without fucking making yourself homeless as well. So we're getting there, lads. I'm learning. But anyway, we'll get into the Q&A. Fuck. I'm fucking sweating sitting here by the window as well. When will you be visiting Newcastle? I have 2 more places in the UK that I really want to go to, Newcastle and Leeds. I'm sure there's loads more I'll go to eventually, but I said to myself that in 2022, you kind of probably noticed from the end of summer to now, I've been to like 4 or 5 UK spots in like 3 or 4 months, and I just had this feeling that I just wanted to bang out most of the UK before the year was done. So I've pretty much got all the UK big cities done. I've got all the big Irish cities done. Europe is kind of a tricky one because I don't know, like I want to go to all the cities someday, but it's not like there's so many of them. So my main goal at the start was to bang out all the Irish cities, all the big UK cities, which I think I've pretty much done now, bar Newcastle and maybe Leeds. You could argue a few more, but that's where we're at for the minute. And then I think next year I'm gonna go kind of back to the roots, back to the smaller towns. There's about 20 small Irish towns that I want to do. Places like, well, Lahinch, I don't know what you even call that a small town, but like Lahinch, Tullamore, Mullingar, Cavan, Monaghan, all these places that people say, don't bother going there, but sometimes you find the best pints in the smallest towns. Would you ever go around previous pubs and see if they stay consistent? No, not for the moment. That's kind of a lesson I learned the hard way over the years. Like when I went to do the video Best Guinness in Dublin, that was kind of an awkward one because I had already been to a few of them, and I went back and some of them weren't as good as the original time, and I couldn't give as good a score, so it just made it awkward. So yeah, maybe if I was going to just do a completely new score, but for now there's still a load of places that I need to go. Will you be back in Belfast? Surely a Belfast Part 2 is on the cards, possibly next year. What's the worst thing about being well known / recognisable from having set this page up? There's honestly nothing. Like it's nowhere near a stage where I can't walk down the street and or I can't go out and have a normal meal with my girlfriend or anything. Like, yeah, you go out in Dublin or you go out in Ireland, there's like a good bit of people recognising you, but it comes with the territory. I know what I signed up for. And thankfully at 99% of the time it's very positive. It's just people say, so a lot of the time, especially when you're somewhere like the airport, people just come by, slap your shoulder, say love your work, and they'll keep walking. That's obviously great. And then if someone stops and chats for a few minutes, great. If people want a picture, yeah, it's not like I'm on Justin Bieber levels where it's an absolute head wreck and there's like paparazzi following me. So if Barstool comes to you with a contract, would you take it? Good question, Tom. To be honest, like as much as I love Barstool, and then for people who don't know, Barstool Sports is a big media company in America. They can be controversial at times because they kind of say what they want and they don't really abide by the whole PC sort of culture. They do a bit more these days, but yeah, anyway. They've been going for like 20 years and that's kind of the reason they're still going, I think. But I love Barstool Sports, but I just don't know how that would work if I'm going over and working in New York and drinking Guinness. Like, there's only so much Guinness you can drink in New York. Now, don't get me wrong, if they came and they said, we want to, I don't know, buy out your channel and like you work for us, I'd consider it. But it wouldn't be a definite yes. I'd consider it though. Jeff asks, what's your favorite movie? Lord of the Rings trilogy. My top 3 favorite movies are Lord of the Rings, Lord of the Rings, and Lord of the Rings. Would you drink mediocre Guinness in a pub or just stick to a soft drink or a lager? How mediocre? If it was bad Guinness, I'd probably just get a beer. But if it was mediocre, like a 6 or 6.5, 7 out of 10, I'd probably stick with the Guinness. But depends if I'm going to be like drinking it all day or if I'm only having a couple. Maybe I would just have a couple of beer Moretti's or something. How do you get the Surger gadget in the US? I presume you're talking about the little Nitro Surge gadget. As far as I'm aware, there's no way of getting it in the US. I think it's only available in Ireland. Is it even available in the UK? It's always so confusing because they bring out certain things. Like the coffee stout was only brought out in the UK. The Nitro Surge was brought out in Ireland and maybe, was it the UK? But the problem with even if someone was to mail you over the Nitro Surge, you have to get the cans as well. And we can get the cans here in the shop in Ireland, but you wouldn't be able to get the cans. You might be able to get them the odd time online, but it would cost you an absolute fortune every time to send them. So I just don't think there would be any point getting it because you wouldn't be able to get the cans. Liam asks, future plans, ? Big question that. I kind of gave a brief future plan for Guinness Guru in the first question. Yeah, I suppose now it's a matter of looking to 2023 and seeing, like, that'll be 2019, 2020, 21, 22. They'll be going into the fifth year? No, 4th year. Started in 2019, it'll be going into the sort of 4th year of Guinness Guru. I'm extremely happy with how far it's come and with how it's all worked out up until now. So thankfully I'm not sitting here trying to plan like, God, how am I going to get big? I don't know how much bigger I can really get something that is purely focused on one thing like Guinness. But don't get me wrong, you can always get little breaks and then boom, you get an extra load of followers. But it's not even about that at this stage. I really like the bunch of people who follow me at the moment, the following I've built. And I suppose now it's a case of just building on that for myself. Next year, possibly trying to look at it from like, you know, a business side, like a possible pub tour. As I say, I don't know who's watching this. Do you keep up with Twitter or Instagram or what? So I was gonna do the Guinness Guru Masterclass, and then unfortunately that kind of was thrown up in the air because stuff was posted onto Twitter that kind of was from my website, but my website wasn't even supposed to be live, and stuff was kind of taken out of context, and then people involved kind of got a bit freaked and stuff. So I don't really want to go into too much detail, but I do think it's blown over now, but I think it might have been a blessing in disguise. And I think the best thing to do is, and the biggest no-brainer, like if you're coming to Dublin, you want to have an experience, I think a pub tour is the best thing to do. So whether that's end of this year or early next year, a pub tour, I'd love to bring out some sort of a product, like some sort of a stout, but again, that's a whole different story. That would be possibly next year. And then future plans, I've always said, this isn't new news, I've always said I really want to expand this Guru empire beyond Guinness. I'll always have the Guinness Guru there, I'll always keep doing the Guinness videos, but I really want to do a whole lot more, like hire people, get an office, like even just that whole Barstool Sports model, I just think is unreal. And I'd love to cover stuff like sports, music, all that sort of thing. So we're only getting started, lads. Do you have any weird superstitions or rituals you do before a video, i.e. something you always do avoid? I wouldn't be a very superstitious person. I do try my best to not eat, or I'll try not to eat for maybe 2 hours, 3 hours before a video. So I'm not, like we all know, if you're drinking pints of Guinness and you have a full belly, they're not going to be as nice as if you've maybe had a light lunch. It's like preparing for a match. And then also I'll try just drink water. I won't really drink like coffee or anything like that, because I want to keep my palate totally sort of neutral, I suppose, for tasting the pints. But in terms of rituals, no. Generally the videos go, I rock up to the town. If I'm staying in a hotel, I check in. I'll have already made the list probably the night before or just before I leave of all the pubs I'm going to. It's literally proper, like old school. I just write every single pub that gets recommended on a piece of paper, then I give it a little strike as to how many times it got recommended, and that's how I figure out where to go. Best sign of a good pint. Well, for me, yeah, you can tell a lot before you even drink it. Like it's at a stage now where you can generally tell if it's going to be good or not before you even drink it. So yeah, it's just personal to me. I love when the dome comes over the top. I love when there's no bubbles in the head, but I think that's pretty worldwide. Old style glass, and that bit of condensation when you can run your finger down the glass. And then when you drink it, once it's creamy as fuck, I'm happy out. A lot of questions just generally about Guinness farts and Guinness shites after filming. Luckily, I only ever really drink 4, possibly 5 pints when I film, and then like I'm not drinking like 15 pints, so the shites don't be too bad. Thanks a lot for the question. Great question. This is a good one. Is a London 8 an Ireland 8 as well, or do you add sympathy points for the Brits? Oh, realistically, when I look back, like, not really. Like, I like to think maybe the odd time, but I like to think like places that I've given high scores to in England have been, in the UK, have genuinely deserved it. Like, and like the likes of Mulligan's in Manchester, like that was, like I said, if I got that in Dublin, I'd have been absolutely delighted as well. So yeah, not maybe the odd time, but like maybe if a pint is really bad, and I should probably give it like a 3, and maybe I give it a 5 because I just don't want them to come and kill me. But no, generally it's accurate enough, I think. Most awkward encounter while filming. There was one time where I said it in the video, but I'm not going to name names now, but you can figure it out if you want. I went to do a video drinking the 0-0, and we went to, I was filming him pouring it, and he poured it, and it literally just came out as pure foam, and he just left it on the counter, and the barman, he knew that there was a video, but he didn't seem to really care too much that it looked that bad, and he was happy, like, he seemed happy to just let it wait a while and let me take it, and the head was about this size, and I just said to him, like, I'm happy to pay, it's probably best for everyone involved if you pour another one. And then he must have poured like 5 more, and it kept getting better and better, but the heads were like this size, this size, this size, and then I think after about the 6th one it was better. So I was just kind of standing there awkwardly waiting for him to pour about 6 pints, trying to small talk for about 20 minutes, so that was awkward enough. Have you ever sent a Guinness back to the barman because it was shite? I can honestly say in my 29 years of life, I have never done it. If I got a shite pint, I wouldn't have the balls to say it. And I've said it before, especially now because I have this name, the Guinness Guru. I just think if I sent a pint back, it would just be like, probably get all over Twitter being like, this lad thinks he's great sending pints back, so I'd rather just drink the shite pint and then leave. What impact, if any, do your reviews have on the pub sales of Guinness? I can only go off of what I've been told by certain pubs. I don't think there's much impact if I say that a pub is grand, but as far as I'm aware, like there's been a few occasions where I've said, like for example, Bittles in Belfast, I said was the best pint in Belfast, and they got on to me a few weeks ago to say their Guinness sales skyrocketed, and they even have little signs in the pub on the table saying Guinness Guru, best pint in Belfast. The Guinea Grill in London, Oisin Rogers, I said that was the best in central London, he texted me about a week or 2 later saying our Guinness, and then he texted me then, and then I was speaking to him again about 6 months later, and he said the Guinness sales, this is just his words, I'm not blowing smoke up my own arse, he said the Guinness sales went up by 50% and they stayed up by 50% for about 6 months, so I suppose that's not bad. Favorite hangover cure? Luckily I don't really get too many hangovers these days. Something I discovered lately, now you're probably thinking you only discovered that, I'd never had it before in my life, but the Diorolite, I'd heard of it, but I never had it, but it does seem to kind of perk you up a bit. It just hydrates the shite out of you basically. You just pop a tablet into water. Are you actually 6'7"? Yes, is the answer. And every time I meet someone, like literally every single time without fail, they say, you're a lot bigger in person. But yeah, I'm used to it. I've been this height since I was about 17, so even like before getting a bit of attention for being a Guinness guru, I've always gotten attention because I'm an absolute ogre. Why haven't you ventured into the Long Hall or Brogan's bar for a pint? Brogan's has never been that highly requested. I know there's a Brogan's in Dublin City, and the Long Hall, that was one of the first pubs I ever went into to try film, and they basically said, you're gonna have to get permission from the owner or from someone, and then we emailed the owner and they said no problem. And then last year, when I was going to do the best pubs in Dublin, I tried to go there again. I rang them and I said, is it okay if I come and film? And they said, they were a bit, no, I'm not sure. And they were like, ring me back and I'll have an answer. And I rang them back and they said, due to COVID, you can't film. And I said, well, it's literally just going to be me. Or no, me and a cameraman. And they were like, no, we can't have a camera, a production team and all because of COVID. I was like, no, it's literally me and a cameraman. And they were fairly adamant. So I don't know, maybe word came from someone like, and to be honest, I don't like, there's a part of me that would understand a pub like that not wanting me to go in there because they've already got a great name for a good pint. O'Donoghue's of Baggot Street is kind of, those are the only two pubs that I kind of have that feeling with, that I've gone in to, I went into O'Donoghue's once and yeah, they kind of said, no, you can't film. But yeah, maybe it's because they've got such a good reputation for Guinness. They're like, well, we don't need this lad coming in and on the off chance that he gets a bad pint. So yeah. Have you ever tried Guinness cake? I've never really tried any sort of Guinness foods, but keep an eye out. I'm hoping to team up with a sort of TV chef soon and make a few different things with Guinness. I think it'd be good crack. What would you do if Guinness offered you your dream job, but you had to stop Guru? Well, what is my dream? This is my dream job. I'm doing my dream job. But like, yeah, because the same with like the Barstool Sports question earlier, like I'm such an overthinker. Every minute of the day, I'm thinking like, where's this whole thing gonna go? And for me, there's like, I suppose there's three ways it can go. One, just keep going by myself. Keep Guinness Guru, set up a lot of different things like sports stuff, music stuff, all that sort of stuff. Keep the content rolling and I control everything. Option two, something like, you know, like a Barstool Sports or some sort of company hires you. You keep making the content, but they kind of like, they get your sort of sponsorships and they kind of pay you and stuff like that. But to be honest, I kind of prefer like working for myself. Then option three, if, and a big massive if Guinness ever came calling, like, you know, would it be cool to be like on the Guinness marketing team or something like that? But then, like, realistically in my mind, like, do I see myself making videos for the next 20, 30 years? Not in this fashion, like, not YouTube in any way. So you kind of are thinking like 10 years ahead, like, do I need an escape plan or do I just keep making content and then kind of go to the back end of that? Who knows? But yeah, it would be cool to work with Guinness, but I just don't ever see it happening, to be honest. But would I be open to it? Yes. But do I think it's likely? Maybe. Not really, maybe. Tell us a bit about how you balance your drinking. Do you train a few nights a week? Yeah, it's a good question because you obviously see, like, all my content is centered. That's why I want to make different content in the future. It's a bit of a no-brainer. Like, all my content is centered around alcohol. So every time I make a video, it's like I have to drink. But yeah, I try to go to the gym. Like, I've always been a bit of a gym head. I actually, fun fact, I have a personal trainer certificate thing. It was like some 3-month course, but I was properly into it a few years ago. So yeah, I've always been into the gym. So I try to go to the gym maybe 3-4 days a week and just like lift weights and go for the odd jog. And I think there was a stage where when I kind of last year I was doing Guinness Guru and eating badly and I gained a little bit of weight. But see, I'm so tall that you never would really see it too much, I think. But then when I did that big charity walk back in May, I shifted a lot of it and I think I've kept most of it off since then. So yeah, diet-wise, I would eat fairly well. Pints, I might film, you know, a video every 2 weeks and I might drink 4 or 5 pints. And then I might go out at the weekend, maybe once a month with my mates and I would have a few pints, but it would never be anything crazy. So I realistically don't think I'd probably drink that much more than the average lad. And then yeah, bit of gym and it keeps me grand. Why aren't you doing a live tour? Hire pubs, sell tickets, drink Guinness. Yeah, I mean, that's definitely another thing to think about for next year. Some sort of a live thing, but what exactly could I do? I don't know. That's all up for debate, but it would be cool just to do a thing going around different pubs in Ireland. But you'd have to do more than just sit there and drink pints. Like, you'd have to be able to entertain people, like put on some sort of a show. So we'll see. Who's the dream guest for the podcast? To be honest, even a few of the people I've had on already have been unreal, but the absolute dream, I'll try keep it like Ireland, UK. Sean O'Brien is someone I would love to get on, because I had James Haskell and Rory Stories both said that I should get him on. He'd be absolutely brilliant, and everyone just knows he's an absolute character. For me, an absolute idol of mine will be someone like Paul O'Connell from rugby, but I can't. I'd be fairly sure he wouldn't be arsed with some sort of a YouTube social media thing, which I would totally understand and respect. And then, yeah, maybe someone like Shane Lowry. I just think the sports people are great. Like, they've always got great stories, and it's always funny to kind of tie in the different sports seem to have different cultures around drinking, so it's always cool to get different perspectives. Now, one more. Lewis Capaldi, I think, would make such a funny episode, and you saw him on the thing now with Niall Horan going around drinking Guinness, so I think Lewis Capaldi would be an absolute dream, because he's just such a funny bastard. Do Guinness monitor your videos and help improve the quality of pints if you give someone a bad review? Not to my knowledge, but I know that with Shit London Guinness, if you don't follow it, there's an Instagram page, Shit London Guinness, you definitely heard of it. But I've heard that, like, when he's gone into pubs and he's posted pictures of a bad pint in a certain pub, and then the Guinness quality team are there next week to fix it, which is good. And would it be the same with mine? I don't know. People always ask, like, do I think Guinness are watching my stuff? I think it's this. I wouldn't say they're sitting there watching my videos, but I think at this stage it would be a bit mad to presume that they don't see what I'm doing. Even you see, like, they're using the tilt tests and all in their advertising, like, so they clearly have an eye on what the guru is at. But like I've always said, I think, and yeah, I don't know, maybe if I said a pub was bad, they might send the quality team in the next week, but they wouldn't tell me that. But it's all, like, I always just say, my best analogy for the relationship between me and Guinness is, it's like the earth and the sun. They revolve around each other. I'm no physician, but they revolve around each other, never making contact, but both mutually benefiting off each other, even though I don't know if the sun benefits off earth, but geez, that's getting too deep. But you know what I mean? Me and Guinness are just kind of orbiting each other, keeping an eye on each other. I'm benefiting off them because I use their product to make a living, and they're benefiting from me because as far as I'm aware, a lot of people have started drinking Guinness or gone back to drinking Guinness because of the videos. So your vision for the channel when you started compared to now, luckily, like, some people say, oh, I started it and then what it is now is totally different. Realistically, like, this is exactly what I envisioned to make. Like, I even have stuff written down from when I started it in summer of 2019. Like, I just wanted to get the YouTube channel to a stage where I could make a full-time living from it and give up my day job, and then use that to build a bit of money, and then after a few years start to create more content outside of Guinness under the Guru Empire. And that's pretty much on that path, which is brilliant. And in terms of a timeline, I never really gave it a timeline. I kind of said, if I'm full-time, when I started, I said, if I'm full-time making videos, making content, whatever it is, even if it's not Guinness, if I'm full-time within 5 years, I'll be happy. And I think I did it within 3 years or something. So yeah, delighted. A day drinking Guinness, 3 mead people you would bring with you, and where would you go? That's a good one. 3 mead people, wow. I'd have to bring Rory Stories, because he'd probably cry if I didn't include him. My good old mate Rory from Ashburn. One that pops to mind is Devon Toner, because Leinster and Ireland legend, and this would be some crew, me, Rory and Devon Toner, 3 big fellas. But yeah, Devon Toner, I've seen him, he did a little bit of media stuff recently, like, and he comes across as real sound, real normal fella, and like, he would have been, when I was kind of younger and in the sort of Leinster underage setup, like they would have been saying, you know, look at Devon Toner, look at what he's doing with the lineouts and all that sort of stuff. So I would have always been inspired by him, and yeah, he just seems like an absolute sound bastard. We go down the old GA route, maybe someone like Graham Garrity, but we couldn't go out in Dublin because he'd get some slagging. What do you make of Island's Edge? Will it last? Look, I don't want to sit here and shit on it too much, but like, I think they marketed it well as they could. But I've always said I thought Island's Edge came out 10 years too late because it was targeted at young people to drink stout. And 10 years ago, young people weren't drinking stout, but now they're drinking Guinness because of all this social media stuff, making it cool. So I think Island's Edge was always going to fight a losing battle. I never really liked the sort of colour scheme, and I thought a stout should always kind of stick to that whole dark kind of colours, and they went with this like orange and blue and green and all this shite. So do I think it'll last? If I had to be honest, I would say no, because nobody that I know has like changed it to their drink of choice. I think it's such a tough market to come into to try get people to stop drinking Guinness and drink Island's Edge. Now, I do know people who have said they like it and they like the roasted flavour of it. So it probably will last because Heineken obviously have massive budgets. But will it be around in 10 years? I would think no. Have you seen the English lad's video of why he doesn't like you and that Guinness review is pointless? I have. People are wondering. There's an English fella who might watch this actually, and he made a video. Just seems to make kind of random videos. I'm not going to comment on it too much. But yeah, he made a video basically being like, Guinness Guru's channel is pointless, he's annoying, blah, blah, blah. At the end of the day, lads, he's talking about me in the video. People are going to be curious, who's this Guinness Guru? And they're probably going to go and check my videos out, and they might even like them. So all that stuff can only help me, so I love it. Do you have any plans to hit up Boston, NYC, Philly? It's so funny, I literally have a list of places I want to go to America, and that's the top 3. So yeah, of course I have plans. It's all just about the Wonga, lads. Can you get sponsorships? New York, it could be something happening with New York soon, but we'll say nothing for now. But yeah, I mean, like, I'd love to go absolutely everywhere. That's where kind of big sponsorships come into it. But then if you get big sponsorships, are they going to control what you're saying in the videos and all? So it's just, we have to navigate it well over the next few years. Do you think people at Diageo think you're a friend or a foe? I mean, they can. I've obviously said like stuff before about the Guinness in general and Diageo, it's all very clean and polished, but I don't think I've ever said anything too bad. And the fact is, like, again, not blowing smoke up my own arse, but like the amount of messages I've gotten from people who have said, I started drinking Guinness because of you. I went to the shop and got Guinness. Oh, I was watching your video, I had to go get a pint. Like, I know in my heart that I have helped to increase Guinness sales by, I don't know how much, but somewhat. So they could only look at me as a friend, I would say. The last thing I say about Guinness and Diageo is I feel like possibly a reason that they don't reach out is because they would fear that maybe I might, like, if they sent me an email, that I might put it up on my story and be like, oh, look who's reaching out now, do you know what I mean? So I do kind of get, like, I do feel like someday there'll be a sit down and it'll be very interesting and we'll just have a chat with whoever's in Diageo, but I think they just are kind of would approach it with caution, which I don't blame them. Have any pubs thanked you for feedback and up their game after a poor Guru score? Once or twice I've gotten messages, and like, you have to respect that, because you would generally think if you own a pub and someone and you own a pub, you're putting your heart and soul into it, and then this random Guinness Guru fella comes in and says your pint isn't great, you're going to think, fucking what an arsehole. But you got to respect the people who take it. And I've even said it to people in person, because you have to be honest with people, because they're going to see the video anyway, and they've said, yeah, well, fair enough, yeah, it might have been a bad day, or we'll look into the lines, or we'll see, can we do anything with our glasses? And when they say that to me, I'm just like, geez, that's very surprising. Like, I'm very respectful of that, because yeah, you think they're just going to tell you to fuck off. Right, we'll do one more question because it's been very long. Okay, this is a great question that I always get, but I always like answering it. Would you consider setting up your own pub? To be honest, as the channel goes on and as I get a bit older, the idea appeals to me slightly more and more. It's never, like, I've never loved the idea of it. I just think I'm the type of person who, like, I look at something and I'll say, like, okay, how much stress is it going to bring? How much money is it going to bring? But if the stress is too much, then I'll just be like, well, fuck the money. Do you know what I mean? So would I set up my own pub? Yeah, but like, I'd obviously have to make sure the Guinness was unbelievable, and I think it's hard to get an unbelievable Guinness in a brand new pub, so you'd have to like bring in kind of specialists and stuff. I think I might struggle to get a perfect pint of Guinness if I open a new pub. So for the minute, it's still leaning towards no, but possibly as I get older and I'm looking for some sort of where to bring my career, maybe a pub. But that the problem would be I'd be so fussy about the standards, but I might not be able to be there all the time if I was doing content and stuff. So I don't know, it'd be tricky. But anyway, lads, apologies for that being so long. Again, if you watch on YouTube, please give it a thumbs up. It just helps it be sent out into the world. And if you're listening on Spotify or Apple, give it the 5 stars, because that's some 5-star shit. One lad talking absolute out of his hoop. So yeah, sound lads, back next week. Take it handy.